Thank you for joining us on a new episode of Hewnlife Talks. I'm Olamide, Ayodele, your host. Today we're going to be talking about the fundamental responsibilities that we have as human beings, and particularly as Christians, towards the vulnerable in our society. And by the vulnerable, I'm speaking in the context of the fatherless, the orphaned, or the widowed in the society. There is no doubt that God is extremely protective of the vulnerable in the society. In the book of Exodus 22:22, God said, "Do not take advantage of the widowed or the fatherless, because they will cry out to me, and I will hear their cry, and I will strike with my sword, such that your children and your wife will be widowed and fatherless too." And there's no doubt that through our actions as humans, we are able to fulfill God's mandate on earth. In fulfillment of God's mandate, what are we doing to help, to protect, to nurture those who are less privileged or more vulnerable in our society? Our guest today is a phenomenal woman. She's an executive director of innovation and transformation at Hertfordshire Partnership. She's also an honorary lecturer at the Imperial College London. She's a wife, she's a mother to two beautiful children. She's also the founder of Heritage Outreach, a children's home located in southwest Nigeria. And what our guest today has done is she's gone to the remote parts of Nigeria to seek out and adopt children who have been orphaned by the Boko Haram insurgency. Our guest today is the special, very special Mrs. Ronke Akerele. Hi, Ronke.
Hello, Olamide.
Thanks for coming to Hewnlife.
Thanks for inviting me.
So, Ronke, the work that you do, I know you're an NHS executive director. You're also honorary lecturer at Imperial College in London. You're a mum to two beautiful children. You're a wife. You're a devout Christian. You work at church. So you obviously have your hands full. So what has motivated you to go to Nigeria and create this children's home?
I guess it all started from my passion for children. I've always had passion for children since I was in my teenage years. I've been a Sunday school teacher since 1998.
Oh, wow.
And I've always been the type that would always want to support people in need. And helping children, having a passion for children, myself, and whilst I was a Sunday school teacher, myself and one of my volunteers, who happens to now be one of our trustees of the Heritage Outreach Board, started an initiative whereby we'll get used clothes, used books from friends and families and ship them to Nigeria during the Children's Day celebrations in May. And whilst we were doing that on a yearly basis, I got inspired. It was quite daunting and yet rewarding to send things that some of our friends and family no longer used in the UK. So we just thought that was our way of giving back. And during those periods, we'll then visit orphanages in Nigeria. We'll see the need in those orphanages. And also, I then got inspired to say, what can I do differently to bring so many other people into homes that could make an impact? Following that, during that period as well, I was married. And married for almost about 9 years then. We were in a waiting game. We trusted Lord, we trusted God to give us the children that our heart desires, but it wasn't coming.
So you had waited for 9 years
yes,
to have
I
a
think
child.
when I started that initiative, it was probably at our 6th year of waiting.
Yeah.
And then we just continued waiting, and the children didn't come.
Oh, wow.
And it was quite a testing time. And I guess at that time, I just thought, okay, you know what, how about if I never have children? There's so many people out there that needs support, that needs love, that needs wood to be cared for. So I think it was sometime in September 2008, during one of my harrowing experiences in the world of infertility. And at that time, I was quite upset with God. In that particular month, I was quite upset with God. And I then told God that just give me that child my heart desires. And if you then give it to me, I'll do what I want to do in your ministry, in building an orphanage. And God then told me that I'm not a God of trade and barter. You can't ask me to do things for you before you respond to my call. And so I battled with that for about a week. And during that week of battling with that, God reminded me on a daily basis that you step out in faith and see what I'll do for you. And I think stepping out in faith, that was in September 2008. In October 2008, the month after, I then decided that a percentage of my income will be dedicated towards saving to build an orphanage.
Wow.
And 4 months after, in February 2009, after listening to God and responding to his calling, I know when I started saving, I thought it was quite daunting because I started my research on what it takes to build an orphanage, how much it's going to be costing, how much the lands will be, where's the right place to start it up. And the cost was quite daunting. It seemed very unaffordable based on my income.
But you continued.
I continued.
Persisted in that.
And I thought, you know what? If this is going to take 7 years or 10 years to complete, it'll come to reality. So I just did it. And 4 months after I started in my art to save that income, and I put it in an account, in February I then conceived. And by October 2009, I then had my son.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's how it all started. And I think the arrival of my son then made me more zealous. I'm more determined to say, I really need to bring this to reality. Yeah. And even though I thought it was going to take 7 or 10 years, you know, when God gives you a vision, He provides all your needs. He provides the resources. He makes it happen. And, you know, as human beings, when we do all the additions and the subtractions, we think it will never come to reality.
It's not going to add up.
It wouldn't add up.
But you persisted.
I persisted because I just knew when I made that faith happen, He showed up even before I even imagined it was going to show up. And throughout that period, 4 years down the line after I started saving, he gave me multiple folds of income that 4 years down the line, the orphanage was established. And the commissioning took place in June 2014.
So even though you were thinking, okay, let me just start, I'll step out, you know, in faith, or step out on faith, and in about 7-8 years, we should have completed. It only took 4 years.
Yes, it did.
You halved the time.
Yes.
God literally halved the time.
God did it. God did it. And I think during that period, some of my very close friends knew I was doing it. And some of them were like, oh, we need support, even if it's to spend some money to build the roof, to do the doors. It was quite tempting to take those support. But unfortunately, I kind of turned them down.
Why did you do that?
Because I just believed that if God gave me that vision, it will provide all that is needed. And I knew that God told me to build that structure. And there was one particular tempting offer. And I went back to God, and God said, you know what? There will be people that would come to support when the children are there. I'll bring people from the north, from the south, from the east. But at this time, your vision is to build that structure. And so
wow,
that's how it started.
So that's how it was birthed.
Yes.
And I'm someone who's really particular about names and how you name things. I believe that a name that you give to a person or to anything would actually then, you know, have a lot to do with that person's destiny or their journey.
Okay.
So why Heritage Outreach?
Oh, the name Heritage Outreach was derived from the Word of God. During the period of conception, God gave me the word in Psalm 127, verses 3 and 5, that says, children are an heritage of the Lord. Blessed is he whose quiver is full of them. It shall not be found wanting and not be ashamed at the gates of their enemies. So Heritage Children, Heritage Outreach of Grace it came from that psalm, because that psalm really ministered to me during that period. Yeah. And that's how the name came across. Yeah.
Okay. Ronke, I'm just going to pause for a minute. I want our viewers to see what Heritage Outreach is about.
This is Alheri, an orphan girl displaced from her home and family by insurgents in the north. Alheri and hundreds of children like her have been affected by war, poverty, and conflict. As a result of the conflicts in the north and other parts of the country, thousands of children like her no longer have families to shower them with love and affection this festive season. Here at Heritage Outreach, we are raising awareness that vulnerable children need to be shown love this season. Let us show love and support to these children. Visit our site at www.heritageoutreach.org Heritage outreach, improving lives, shaping their tomorrow.
Wow, that's impressive. Really amazing work you're doing with the children. So you've basically given these children hope, you've given them love, you've given them warmth and comfort. And it's just so inspiring to me that you can just think about it and say, I'm going into a remote part of Nigeria and I'm going to adopt children and give them hope and give them a new lease of life. So initially, you've talked about how when you started, there wasn't a lot of God just wanted you to go on that journey alone with the building and just setting it up. So now you've started to garner some support. How is that going in relation to support, contribution and help?
Okay. So despite the fact just building the structure, I think what has been quite amazing is God did send people after the structure has been built to be parts of the visionaries for this charity. So especially members of the trustee board, they've been the one running with the journey, running on the vision, and members of our operations committee in Nigeria, they've been accountable to the governance of the smooth running of the facility, and various people have actually been a blessing to the charity. They've been supporting with their education, and they've been supporting with different kind of support, skills, expertise. And I don't think we have purposefully not done an aggressive marketing fundraising campaign. And this is due to the fact that the Board of Trustees firmly believes that if this is God's ministry, God will fund people. God will fund people. So we've not gone to the global market to actually do some serious fundraising.
Yeah.
Because we know that He said He will not let us lack any good thing.
Yes.
And because of that, to date, God has brought a few extraordinary people that believes so much in this vision to put it forward. And it's amazing to just see how God are bringing people our way, really.
Yeah.
And it's not loads of people. We believe in quality.
Yes.
And the quality is not about having quantity of children in the home. We want to give them a unique life. We want each child as a special need, and it's us meeting that special need of that child.
Yes.
So I think in terms of gaining audience, most of our audience, what we do is more about advocacy. I mean, right now, UNICEF says there's about between 143 million to about 210 orphans children in the world. Out of all that, it's only about 250,000 of them that are adopted yearly.
Oh my God.
I mean, this statistics for us in Heritage Outreach is it's a reminder to advocate for them,
Yes.
a reminder to pray for them, a reminder to give.
Yes.
And we're just doing our own little way of making an impact on the lives of
these children.
Yeah.
So how many children do you currently have?
So currently in the house, we have 15 children that live with us.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're able to fully support them. So those that are currently caring for them, are they employed or are they volunteers, or do you have a mix of both?
Oh, so in the home itself, all the people working with them are actually fully employed with us.
Okay.
We've got those that we also have NYSC coppers. So these are people that the government are university graduates or graduates that spend a year.
Yeah.
Yes, that spend a year in different organizations to give back. So we've got 2 each year. Last year we had 2, and they've just finished their NYSC, and we just embarked about 2 others as well to join us for another. So they are kind of funded by the government through the NYSC scheme, but we just have to pay some supplements towards that.
Yes. Yeah. Oh gosh, advocacy is so crucial because the thing is, we're reminded every day that there's terrorism in the world, there's, a lot of violence in the world, people are being killed. But I find that the reaction that a lot of people have is you watch the news, you listen to it on radio, you read the papers, you're horrified for a while, and then you forget
about it, yeah,
and you move on with your life. But there are actually people like you who are not forgetting that there is an aftermath to these violent crimes.
Absolutely.
And that you're reaching out and you're doing the necessary to ensure that these children are not forgotten and that they do not suffer. And that to me is just phenomenal. So in terms of the children you have at the moment, you've gone into the remote parts of Nigeria to look for them. Are there only children from the aftermath of the Boko Haram insurgency, or are there other children as well involved?
So far, we've catered for about 7 children, that are from the local communities that have been referred to us by the social services department of the state.
Yeah.
And they've come through various channels. Some of them are desolate children, orphans, vulnerable children. They've got parents that have got one mental health problem or the other, or genuine people that were found on the street. So of those 7, we've one of them has been adopted into a family that wanted adoption.
Oh, wow.
Yes, a baby, and we really miss him dearly. He was brought into our house when he was about 6 months, because you don't really know their ages because they were found on the streets. So
yes.
He was brought, but based on their development, you can have an idea.
Have an idea of the age.
So it was brought, that particular child was brought to us at 6 months. Then he stayed with us for about another 7 months, and a family adopted him into their home. The others, the other 2 or 3 has been integrated back into the community, but we currently have 4 that are not part of the Boko Haram that we've adopted and we're nurturing.
Yes. So in terms of you now, I'm curious. I'm naturally a very curious person.
Okay.
And we've been running a theme on Hewnlife lately, where a lot of the women I'm speaking to are doing so much. And one of the things that I always ask them, I always want to know how they execute their various roles without dropping the ball. Okay. So you are currently Executive Director of Innovation and Transformation at Hertfordshire, NHS. Yeah. You're also Honorary Lecturer at Imperial College in London. You're also a wife. You've got 2 children of your own. You're running the orphanage. You're in the forefront of that. And you're also doing a doctorate, because I did research you.
Yeah.
What's your doctorate about? What are you? So you have a BSc, you have an MSc, you have an MBA, and now you're doing a doctorate. What's your doctorate in, and what's the whole story behind that?
Okay, my doctorate is just completed, really, and
so you're literally Dr. Ronke now.
Oh,
that is so impressive.
Oh yes. So basically, my doctorate is about leadership practices. It's about leadership, the way we use voice and power in organizations, and how we kind of suppress employee relations within an organizational setting.
Wow.
And being a leader in the NHS, which happens to be the largest employer in the UK,
it is.
And actually largest in Europe as well, the 2nd largest in the world.
Wow.
We have a role to play in transforming the lives of employees, and especially the people we serve. So when we engage with patients, how do we ensure that the patient's voice is in the relationship we put into play? How do we ensure that the facilities we put into play do not come through power? And how do we, so it's not just about the organizational as an organizational entity, it's also your role in your home, your role with your family.
Yes.
How do you go into, how are you fully in a being there, and how do you actually make an impact wherever you
are. So what vision do you have now for heritage outreach for the long term, and how can the world at large support you with this vision?
I think our vision for heritage is quite simple. Our vision is just to make an impact and transform the lives of children under our care. We want to make sure that they could be the future leaders of tomorrow, whereby despite their stories, their upbringing, whatever they had seen, each one of them has gone through one trauma or psychological issues in the past. Some of them have seen their parents killed next to them. Some of them have seen their grandparents, their friends and family. Some of them have gone without food for months until they were rescued. God. And these were children. I mean, our children are all between the ages of 0 and 8. So you can imagine at those tender age. So our role is to actually bring the uniqueness out of each child.
Yes.
They go through a lot of psychological therapy. They go through a lot of counseling. And we're trying to develop children that are quite holistic. So whilst we're focusing a lot on their academics, we also spend a lot of time on their extracurricular activities.
You're giving them the British way of life.
Kind of, to the best of our abilities. And just trying to, some of them are very good in sports, some of them got a piano music room in the home.
Oh, wow, so that's so impressive.
Yeah, so it's quite a mix of things. And of course, we expose them to what happens in the community. We take them out on day trips as well. So our role is just to make sure that each person that passes through the home can stand up there tall and actually be a blessing to the community and actually be a future leader to our country, Nigeria.
Wow. Yeah. So if I wanted to bring my children to Heritage Outreach to volunteer for a while, help, do I need to go through a process to do that?
Yes, you do, because I think that's one of the challenges that we faced as an organization, because though Heritage Outreach is a charity that is established in Nigeria, we're also a registered charity in the UK. So we're also governed by charity commissions, and it's important for us that we follow due protocols and governance. So of course we welcome your children to come and work with us, to volunteer with us. We've got some various people that come on holidays, and children actually in schools in Nigeria that want to see what it is to work with charities. And we just go through the normal processes to ensure that you've got the right character, you're able to follow our ethos in terms of our daily routines, and you're able to make a positive impact into the lives of those children. So you do your normal checks as much as we can, yeah.
Are you comfortable with where you are now, with what you set out to accomplish with Heritage Outreach?
It's a journey. It's evolving on a daily basis. We can't say we're there. We've just started. In terms of operations, we're just about 2 years into operations. So though it was commissioned in 2014, it took us about a year to get all the necessary paperwork to ensure that we have the right status in the country that we do our operations. Yeah. So in terms of being operationalized, it's only been 2 years. So we're learning on a daily basis. We know we're on a journey, and we've still not gotten there yet. There's still a lot to do to the lives of those children. Some of the last batch of children we got from the IDP camps, they just joined us about 4 months ago. So it's actually settling them into their home. We've always had issues. Sometimes have issues with staffing. We have issues with bureaucracy. So bureaucracy of engaging with external agencies. So I think, but we're confident because for some of us, especially members of the trustees board, we know some of these children when they came in. We know what they are now, and it's very mind-blowing to see the change, the difference in them when they talk to us, some of them, especially those from the IDP camps.
What does IDP stand for?
So IDP stands for Internally Displaced People. Oh, right, okay. Yeah, so the internally displaced people are a group of people wherever they live in the country, whereby through earthquakes, through insurgency, they are all brought together by the government of that country and placed in areas whereby they're makeshift camps, really. Yes. So through the Boko Haram crisis, there were loads of IDP camps set up in the north as a temporary base for children or people that have been generally displaced, adults or different people, really.
Did you have to travel to the north?
Yes, we did.
To get them?
Absolutely, we did.
So you had to locate the IDP camps and complete paperwork?
Absolutely, because there are millions of children there. There are different types of children, and there are agencies that work with them. There are loads of international organizations that have set up there. There are Christian charities there. So we actually engaged with an organization called Stephanos Foundation. Okay. They're a Christian charity that supports people that have been displaced, people that have gone through various conflicts in different parts of the country. And so we engage with them, and all our referrals are from Stephanos Foundation.
Stephanos Foundation, okay. Yes. There's so many people who want to step out, like you've done, to set up a non-for-profit organization because it's either they believe that God has told them that this is a purpose for them, or because they're passionate about a particular group of people, or because they're passionate about the vulnerable in our society, but they've been so afraid to do that because they know it's a lot of work. What advice would you give about what to look out for when you're setting out to do this, or what pitfalls or challenges that you're likely to have and how you can navigate
your way around it? Yeah. I think for me, I can only talk about my own personal experience. I think setting up is, especially when you set up in a country where things work in the UK, that has been quite seamless. But though we were set up here, our method of operations is in a country whereby the governance isn't that straightforward. Yeah. And is trying to understand the logistics and the mechanics of that of the governance in wherever your charity is going to be established. And I mean, if it's God's, I think one has to really understand that it's God's will for you. Yeah. If it's God's will for you, I'm telling you, it will make things work.
It will
I mean,
work out.
I know that, yes, God told me to build it. He created the funds to build it. But sometimes I sit back and reflect on things, and it looks like I'm not even the one running it, because it's actually an established charity. It's got board of governors, it's got board of trustees. And the way we've got some certain volunteers, we've got some few extraordinary people that I know that Heritage Outreach is actually theirs, because in terms of, they're the ones running for it. They're the ones, they spend most of them are busy working professionals, but they spend a lot of unpaid time, days and hours supporting this charity. Some of them I never even knew before Heritage Outreach started.
So they reached out to you?
They reached out to me.
That they wanted
to be part of it.
They
wanted to be volunteered and support. One or two very close friends is actually spearheading it as well. And some of them, it just makes me realize that, God did say, I'll bring people from the north, south and east to make this happen. It's his ministry. Yes. And for people that really want to go that route, I know that God has then brought these people. So they are the ones, even though I put the structure together, they're actually the ones that are really making things happen, and they're God's soldiers behind the scenes.
God's soldiers.
Yeah.
I love the sound of that. Thank you so much, Ronke. I could go on and on with you because I just want to hear more about you. You inspire me so much, but we will be catching up. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you've been inspired by what our guest Ronke does with the children at Heritage Outreach. If you want to reach out on social media, the handle is heritage_outreach. And if you want to reach out via their website, www.heritageoutreach.org, you can get in touch to see how you can support as well. Or if you just want advice, or if you're starting out your non-for-profit organization or your charity, if you're doing any philanthropy, you can get in touch with Ronke and she can just give advice. Thank you so much for watching. Until next week, stay blessed.